The cry that shook the ship, the sound was not normal. It was sharp, loud. It moved through the walls of the alien warship like a scream inside metal. Even the strongest soldiers stopped walking when they heard it. The cry came from the royal chamber. And everyone on the ship knew what it was. The baby. The alien queen's baby. But this was no normal alien child. She was the firstborn in 400 years. And she was crying again. General Cray stood near the metal door, arms behind his back. His face was cold, like all others from his kind. Logic, order, no emotion. But this sound, this endless crying, it made even him feel something. Not sadness, not fear, just confusion. Why won't she stop? Inside the chamber, the alien queen sat tall on her glowing silver throne. She was large, with bright blue skin and deep red eyes. She did not move. But her baby, lying inside a smooth glass cradle, screamed louder and louder. 3 alien doctors stood around the baby, helpless. One of them, Dr. Zell, shook his head. "Your Majesty," he said, "we have tried everything. Food, light, temperature control, music, medicine. Nothing works." The queen said nothing. Her face stayed still. But her eyes moved, fast and angry. "She cries without reason," Zell continued. "There is no pain, no illness, and her brain scans show strange activity." "What kind of activity?" The queen asked, voice calm but sharp. "She is feeling emotions. Strong ones, fear, loneliness, longing, like a human." That word, human, made everyone freeze. A silence covered the room, except for the baby's screams. Another doctor stepped forward. Her name was Fail. She spoke carefully. "There is one option left, something we never tried before." The queen's eyes narrowed. "Speak." "A human caretaker," Fail said. "Someone with soft touch, warmth, emotion. The baby might respond to that kind of presence." Cray stepped in. "Impossible. We do not allow humans on this ship. They are weak, illogical." "But," Fail replied, "this baby is not like us. Something inside her is different." The queen stood now, tall, powerful. "You believe this child needs a human?" "Yes, Your Majesty. If nothing else works, we must try. Or her mind may break." The queen looked at the baby. The child had her eyes, but something was wrong. This child was not silent and calm like her people. She was loud, emotional. Her body shook with each cry. The queen slowly nodded. "Bring me a human." On a quiet Earth base, far away, a message arrived. It was not a question. It was an order. One name was chosen, Jake Carter. Age 32. Former child psychologist. Calm under pressure. Kind heart. When he was taken from Earth, he didn't fight. He asked no questions. But when he stood inside the alien warship, looking at strange glowing walls and silent creatures, he finally asked, "Why am I here?" "You will see," a voice replied. Jake was led to the royal chamber. He heard it before he saw anything. The cry. It was sharp, high and unnatural, but something about it pulled at his heart. He stepped into the room and saw her, small, blue-skinned, eyes glowing with pain. The baby was kicking, twisting, and crying like her heart was breaking. "She will not stop," the queen said, looking at Jake. "You are our last option." Jake walked slowly to the cradle. The doctors moved back. He looked at the child, eyes soft. "Hey, little one," he whispered. The baby cried harder. Jake didn't step away. He sat beside her, close. Then slowly, gently, he placed his hand on her tiny shoulder. The baby froze. The room became silent. Not a sound. Not a breath. Jake picked her up carefully. The baby blinked. Once, twice, then sighed. Her small body relaxed. And then, for the first time since her birth, she slept. Everyone in the room stared. The queen stepped forward. "What did you do?" Jake looked up. His voice was calm. I held her. But deep in the shadows of the ship, someone was watching. A tall alien with red armor and a scar on his face. He spoke quietly into a hidden device. The human touched her. It worked. Just like we feared. The prophecy may be true. The human enters. The dream was strange. Jake saw a crying child in a silver cradle. The sound felt sharp, like glass breaking in his mind. Around the cradle stood tall shadows with glowing eyes, but none of them moved to help. Then, a voice spoke inside his head. "Wake up, human. Your trial begins now." Jake opened his eyes, but he was no longer on Earth. He sat inside a glowing white room with no windows, no sound. The air smelled cold, like metal. His heart beat faster. But he stayed calm. He had been trained for strange missions, but this felt different. Then the wall in front of him literally melted and turned into a doorway. A tall alien stepped in. Gray skin, red uniform. No emotion on its face. "Follow me," it said. Jake didn't argue. He stood, took a deep breath, and walked through. The hallway looked like something from a science fiction movie. Walls pulsed with blue light. Creatures walked silently, all taller than humans, with glowing eyes and smooth skin. None of them looked at Jake. None of them spoke, but all of them heard it. The crying, that same sharp cry from his dream, echoed through the hallway now. It was real, alive, painful. Jake felt a strange pull in his chest. As they walked, the alien beside him spoke. "She is the Queen's daughter. She has not stopped crying since birth. Many believe she is broken. Some want her destroyed, but the Queen has given you one chance to save her." Jake stopped walking. "Wait," he said. "You brought me here to calm a baby?" "Not just a baby," the alien replied. "A future. A war. A question we cannot answer, but maybe you can." They entered the royal chamber. Jake had never seen a room like this. The walls were alive, moving slightly, glowing with slow pulses. In the center was a glass cradle floating in midair. Inside was the child. She was small, glowing slightly. Her eyes were closed, but tears ran down her blue cheeks. Her body trembled with every breath. The sound of her crying felt like it was hitting Jake's chest from the inside. Around her stood the Queen and 3 alien doctors. They looked at Jake like he was a strange bug. The Queen spoke softly. "Do not fail." Jake walked slowly toward the child. He didn't rush. He didn't speak. He just looked at her with soft eyes. The crying grew louder. Then he stopped walking, just stood there. And for one long moment, he did nothing. The aliens looked confused, but Jake was watching her carefully, not just her crying, not just her face. He was watching the way she curled her hands, the way her shoulders shook, the way her eyes searched even while shut. She wasn't in pain, she was scared. Jake stepped closer. He sat beside the cradle. He slowly reached one hand through the energy shield surrounding it, and he waited. The baby suddenly stopped crying. She opened her eyes, red and glowing, but now wide with curiosity. Jake's hand touched her gently. No pressure, no force. Just warmth. And then she made a sound no one had heard before. A sigh. The baby closed her eyes, leaned toward Jake's hand, and fell asleep. The room froze in shock. Even the Queen stepped forward, eyes wide. "She sleeps?" one doctor whispered. Jake didn't move. He just whispered. She was never broken. She was just alone. But far away, in a hidden control room deep within the ship, a group of alien generals were watching. One of them turned to the others and said, "The human touched the air. He made contact. We must prepare." Another answered, "If the Queen's child carries human blood, the prophecy is real." They all stared at the screen where Jake held the baby, and one final voice spoke, "Kill the human before the truth spreads." The first touch. The baby didn't just stop crying. She changed the room. The moment Jake's hand touched her skin, a low hum filled the air. Soft at first, almost a whisper, but growing. Like the ship itself had started breathing. The baby leaned into Jake's palm, eyes closed, face calm. A peaceful silence fell over the royal chamber. The kind of silence no one had heard since her birth. The Queen's guards tightened their grips on their weapons. The doctors stared in disbelief, and the Queen. She took one slow step forward. Her voice was a whisper. Impossible. Jake didn't know what he had done. He only knew it felt right. He gently lifted the baby from the cradle. She was warm and strangely light, as if gravity didn't fully understand her. Her tiny hand wrapped around his finger. He smiled. "You're okay now," Jake said softly. "You were just waiting for someone, huh?" He didn't notice it right away, but the baby's skin began to glow faintly. Not bright, not wild. Just enough to make the light dance across Jake's chest. Dr. Zell stepped forward, scanning them with a device. His hand was shaking. "Her energy levels are changing," he whispered. "They're synchronizing with the human." Jake looked up. "What does that mean?" The Queen spoke before anyone else could. "It means she has accepted you." For the first time, Jake turned fully to face the Queen. Her face was unreadable, calm, yet her eyes held something ancient, fear maybe, or something deeper. "Why me?" he asked. The Queen stared at the child in his arms. "That is the question," she said. Hours passed. Jake was given a quiet chamber on the ship to stay with the baby. The aliens monitored everything. Every breath, every heartbeat, every movement. But the baby didn't cry again. She only slept or stared at Jake with glowing eyes. Sometimes she reached out and touched his face. Her fingers were cold at first, but warmed quickly. Jake named her Nova. But as peaceful as things seemed, something was wrong. Jake woke in the middle of the night. Nova was floating, not high, just a few inches above her crib. She wasn't crying. She wasn't afraid. She was looking directly at Jake. Her eyes weren't red anymore. They were silver. Suddenly, alarms blared through the ship. Doors locked. Lights turned red. A deep voice echoed through the speakers. "Security breach. Lab sector. Level 7. Unauthorized access." Jake rushed to the door, but it didn't open. He held Nova close. "What's happening?" he shouted. Panel flickered on the wall. The face of Dr. Fail appeared, sweat on her forehead. "Jake, don't leave the room. Someone tried to access the DNA vault. Someone knows." The feed cut out. Jake sat on the floor, holding Nova tight. He looked down at her. "What are you, little one?" he whispered. "What are they hiding?" Nova stared at him for a long moment. Then, her tiny hand reached out and touched Jake's chest. His heart raced. And then, for just 1 second, he saw something. A flash in his mind. A memory that wasn't his. Vision of a giant city made of crystal towers, floating above clouds, and burning. Then it was gone. Nova blinked, as if nothing had happened. Jake sat frozen, heart pounding. He didn't know what he had just seen. But one thing was clear now. This baby was not just special. She was dangerous. Meanwhile, deep in the ship's command center, the generals gathered in secret. One slammed his fist on the table. "She responded to a human. That means the bloodline has been tainted." Another hissed. "The Queen kept secrets from us. And now the prophecy is beginning." A silent figure stepped forward, his voice cold. "Prepare the extraction team. If the Queen won't end this, we will." A secret inside her DNA. The ship moved through deep space in silence. But inside the royal lab, everything was falling apart. Dr. Zell's hands trembled as he stared at the screen. Lines of glowing alien code ran across it, fast, chaotic, changing with every second. This shouldn't be possible," he whispered. Behind him, "Doctor, Fail stood frozen. Her face had lost all color. "What did you find?" she asked, barely breathing. Zell turned toward her, voice hollow. "She's not just part human." He pointed at the screen. "There's something else. Something older than both our species." In the quiet chamber, Jake sat beside Nova's cradle. She was asleep, glowing softly again. He had barely slept. His mind kept returning to the vision she gave him. Burning towers. A lost city. Screams in a language he couldn't understand. Looked down at her. "You're just a baby. How can you know things I've never seen?" As if answering him, Nova stirred slightly. The lights in the room flickered for a moment. A low vibration moved through the floor, barely noticeable. Jake felt it in his chest like a second heartbeat. Suddenly, the chamber doors opened. "Doctor." Fail stepped in, followed by 2 silent guards. "We need to talk," she said. Jake stood up immediately. "What's going on?" Fail looked at the baby, then back at Jake. "She's not just royal blood. And she's not just human. We scanned her DNA again. Triple confirmed. There's a third strand. Something not from Earth. Not from our world either." Jake frowned. "A third species?" Fail nodded slowly. "Our ancestors spoke of a vanished race. Creators, architects. Of life, only myths. But this code. It matches ancient relics found on dead planets. Symbols, patterns. The same energy signature." Jake sat down again, trying to understand. "You're telling me she's part God?" Fail looked him in the eyes. "I'm saying she may be the last piece of something the universe forgot." Elsewhere on the ship, in a locked private chamber, the Queen stood before a silent hologram. It was not alien. It was a recording. Old, human. A woman's face appeared. Tired, but kind. She was smiling softly. "If you're watching this, it means she's alive." The Queen watched without blinking. "She's more than a child. She carries the key to what we all lost. Don't let them take her. Don't let them fear her." The Queen's hands clenched behind her back. The message continued. "One day, a human will touch her heart. And when that happens, the gate will open." The message ended. The Queen closed her eyes. "She has awakened," she whispered. Back in the lab, Dr. Zell showed Jake a new scan. Nova's DNA pulsed on screen like it was alive. Zell pointed to the third strand. "This is what's causing her powers. The glow, the floating, the visions." Jake asked the one question he feared. "Is it dangerous?" Zell didn't answer immediately. Fail did. "She is not the danger," she said. "But those who fear her, they are." At that moment, deep in the warship's lower levels, a secret meeting began. General Cray stood in front of a dozen shadowed commanders. He played a short video. Nova, floating above her crib. Eyes glowing, lights bending around her. "Unstable," Cray said. "Unnatural. This child threatens everything we are." One commander leaned forward. "What do you propose?" Cray answered coldly. "We take her, we remove the human. We control the power." Jake, unaware of the plot, sat watching Nova sleep. He whispered, "Who are you, Nova?" And again, like before, she opened her eyes. This time she spoke, not in words, but in his mind. A voice, soft, familiar, echoing from deep within. "I remember you." Jake's eyes widened. "You can speak?" Nova blinked slowly. A glowing tear ran down her cheek. "They're coming." Jake held her close, heartbeat rising. He knew now this wasn't just about a baby. It was about something buried in time. Something the universe tried to erase. The alien uprising. The ship was too quiet. That kind of quiet only came before something terrible. Jake knew it. He held Nova close, walking through the corridor. The lights above flickered every few seconds, then stayed, dark for longer than they should. Nova was silent in his arms, but her eyes were wide. Watching. Listening. She felt it too. Back in the control room. Alarms were silent, but the danger had already begun. General Cray stood at the center of a dark meeting hall. His hand hovered over a glowing red console. "She carries ancient blood," he said coldly. "Blood we cannot trust." Beside him stood 10 elite warriors. Silent, armored, ready. Cray pressed his hand onto the console. A deep hum echoed through the ship's lower decks. "Initiate Protocol 0. Across the ship, doors began to lock. Lights turned red. Artificial gravity flickered. Just for a moment, Jake stopped walking. He looked up. Something had changed. "What's going on?" he asked, more to himself than to Nova. She looked back at him. "They are coming," her voice whispered in his head. Jake ran. Meanwhile, Dr. Fail slammed her fist into the lab door. "Open!" she shouted at the security panel. It didn't respond. On the screen above her, she watched a tracking feed. Jake's life signs, Nova's vitals, and 12 red markers moving toward them. Fell's eyes widened. "They're going to kill them," she whispered. "They're really doing it." She turned to Dr. Zell. "Get me into the Queen's chamber, now." Inside the royal throne room, the Queen stood still, her face unreadable. She already knew what was happening. She had known it would come to this, but she did not stop it. Not yet. Jake reached a sealed door. It didn't open. Behind him, footsteps. Heavy, marching. He turned. 12 soldiers in black armor, weapons aimed, faces hidden. Jake took a step back, holding Nova tighter. "I don't want to fight," he said. Cray stepped through the shadows behind them. "You are not here to fight," he said coldly. "You are here to surrender the child." Jake's voice was low but firm. "She's just a baby." "She's a threat," Cray snapped. "She holds power from a forgotten race. She sees the past. She may even change the future. That we cannot allow." Jake took another step back. "She's not a weapon." But Nova slowly raised her hand toward the soldiers. No anger, no fear. The lights above them shattered with a sharp crack. The ground shook. Cray's soldiers froze. Jake's heart raced. Nova's eyes were glowing again, bright silver this time. "They lied," her voice echoed in Jake's mind. "They killed my mother." Jake's eyes widened. He looked at her confused. "Your mother? The Queen?" Nova looked up at him and said, for the first time with her actual voice, "She is not my mother." Back in the Queen's chamber, Dr. Fail burst in, shouting, "Stop them! Cray has activated Protocol 0. He plans to take the child by force." The Queen turned slowly. Her voice was like ice. "I know." Fail stepped forward, shaking. "You're letting him commit murder?" The Queen stared at her. "You think I am her mother," she said, "but I am only her carrier. The child's true DNA was placed inside me by another." Fell's mouth opened in shock. "A surrogate?" The Queen nodded. "Her real parents were both human." Back at the standoff, Jake held Nova as the room began to tremble. The air shimmered around her. Lights bent like heat waves. Soldiers started stepping back. Cray raised his weapon. "Do it," he ordered. But the floor cracked open beneath them, clean silent cracks in the metal. The ship began to shift. Jake grabbed Nova and ran. The baby had opened a path through the wall. As Jake escaped into the maintenance tunnels, Cray shouted into his comms, "They're getting away. Send every drone, every hunter. He cannot leave this ship alive." In the darkness, running through the narrow metal corridors, Jake whispered to Nova, "Who are you really?" And Nova looked at him with glowing eyes and said, "I am the key." Earth's secret history. The escape pod hit the surface like a falling star. Jake rolled across the ground, arms wrapped tightly around Nova. Smoke filled the sky behind him. Above, the alien warship vanished behind the clouds, silent, watching. Jake didn't care. He was back, Back on Earth, they landed in an old, cold desert, not the kind people visit. The kind governments forget. Nova stood quietly beside him now. She looked human again, almost except her eyes. They were still silver, and they didn't blink when the sky thundered. She simply whispered, "We're not safe." Not yet. 2 hours later, Jake stood at the edge of a hidden bunker, rusted, buried deep in stone. He pressed a broken code into the panel. The door hissed open. Nova followed him inside without a word. The air smelled like dust, copper and old secrets. Inside, everything was still running. Quiet machines, flickering screens, and in the center of it all, an old man, bald, pale skin, blind in one eye. But when he saw Nova, he stood up fast. "My God, she's real." His name was Dr. Elias Vorn. One of the last scientists from the Secret Earth program, a project that was erased from history. He looked at Jake with tired eyes. "You brought the key here." "That's good. That means the Queen didn't stop you." Jake narrowed his eyes. "You know her?" Vorn nodded. "She was part of the plan. A surrogate. A vault. A lie wrapped in armor." Jake held Nova closer. "What is she?" he asked. Vorn walked to a dusty console and wiped the screen. A map appeared, of Earth. Yes, but not as it is now. Islands in the wrong places. Cities that never existed, and a circle glowing at the center of what used to be the Atlantic Ocean. "This world had a past," Vorn said, "but we buried it." He told Jake everything. Thousands of years ago, humans were different, stronger, brighter, connected to something beyond stars. But a war came. A war between ancient creators, beings who built life, and those who wanted to control it. When the dust settled, Earth was shattered, the knowledge was erased, but one secret remained. "A seed," Vorn whispered. "A child. A carrier of both bloodlines, human compassion and alien design." Jake looked at Nova. "You mean she was created?" Vorn nodded. "She's not a mistake. She's the final message." Outside the bunker, the sand began to move. Slowly, then faster. Something was burrowing under it. Machines? Or something worse. Nova turned her head. "They found us." Vorn didn't panic. He turned to Jake, calm but serious. "She has to reach the gate." Jake frowned. "What gate?" Vorn touched a hidden panel. A giant wall behind them hissed and slid open, revealing a staircase descending into deep blue light. "Beneath the ocean," Vorn said. "There's a door made of stone, built before time had language. When her DNA touches it, the truth will return." Jake stared at the stairs. "You want us to go down there alone?" Nova took his hand. "She's not afraid," Vorn said. "That's because she's been there before, in memory." Jake hesitated, but when he looked at Nova, her eyes were full of something new. Not power, not fear. Purpose. Far above, in the orbiting warship, General Cray stood in front of a live feed. He watched the bunker flicker with energy. "The old man told them," he said. Behind him, shadowed voices whispered, "If she reaches the gate, we lose control." Cray nodded once, then, "Stop them." Back on Earth, Nova and Jake stood at the edge of the glowing staircase. The walls hummed with ancient power. Jake whispered, "If we go down there, nothing will ever be the same." Nova turned to him and said softly, "That's the point. The choice." It didn't feel like Earth anymore. The staircase below the bunker had no end. No sound, just blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Jake held Nova close as they descended. Step by step, the walls were no longer made of stone. They were shifting. Alive. Strange symbols lit up under his feet, glowing only when Nova walked. Near them, each one pulsed. Recognized her. Like the ancient place had been waiting. At the bottom, they entered a massive underground chamber. No roof. Just stars above, but not Earth sky. It was older. Wider. Impossible. In the center stood a massive gate, taller than a mountain, covered in carvings, whispering as if they remembered voices from forgotten worlds. Nova stepped forward. The gate shimmered. Jake turned to Dr. Vorn, who had followed them in silence. What is this place? Vorn took a deep breath. It's not a door, he said. It's a mirror, a memory. It shows what we were and what we still can be. He pointed at Nova. She's the key because her DNA holds all three codes: human soul, alien logic, and something older. Something pure. Jake's voice was low. What happens when she touches it? Vorn looked at him. Everything changes. Suddenly the ground shook. Explosions above. The bunker had been found. General Cray's ship hovered in the sky, casting a shadow over the desert. Dozens of dark pods fell from orbit like burning arrows. Soldiers poured into the chamber from hidden tunnels. Weapons ready. Faces cold. Cray himself stepped forward, his gun aimed at Nova. This ends here, he said. Jake moved in front of her. She's just a child. She's more than that. Cray snapped. She carries forbiddance code, the kind that ended galaxies. You think she's your daughter? She's a doorway. Jake's voice cracked. She's not a weapon. Cray raised his weapon. I won't let the past repeat itself. He fired, but the shot never landed. Nova raised her hand, not angry, not afraid. Just calm. The air twisted. The bullet stopped mid-air, floating, shaking, then melted into light. Her eyes turned pure white. The gate behind her opened. Just an inch. Enough. From within came a wind, a voice without sound, words that felt like emotions. Jake fell to his knees, not in pain, in memory. He saw his mother, his childhood, his first fear, his first smile. He saw every war Earth had hidden, every secret buried, every truth burned. He understood now. The gate wasn't about power. It was about remembering. Cray fell back, screaming. It's mind control. No, Vorn whispered. It's clarity. Nova looked at Jake. She didn't speak, but he heard her. You have to choose. Jake's voice cracked. Me, this world, or theirs. Stay human, or become what we were meant to be. Tears ran down his face. He looked at the gate, then at Nova, and finally, he understood. I choose both, he whispered. He stepped forward. Nova took his hand. Together, they touched the gate. A wave of light exploded outward. The desert turned green. The stars realigned. Ships stopped mid-air. Weapons dropped from hands. And the gate close. Not locked. Just waiting. Nova fell asleep in Jake's arms. And for the first time, the world didn't feel broken. Far above, in deep orbit, a signal pulsed into space. Not a warning, not a threat, just a message. She has chosen, and we have remembered.